Okay, so what's the formality to display this? Does somebody introduce the resolution?
I introduce it.
What?
Oh, you do?
Well,
Well, she's not seen it.
oh, yeah, it's one of us.
Like me, I'll do it.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce the resolution for us to vote on.
Authorizing.
Author,
Oh,
I got
authorizing.
good vision there.
Let me authorize.
Minister authorizing an option agreement to purchase real estate.
I'll second. Noted, Chris, you want to just take a
Yes,
moment
and
to
then,
read
and
the
then
markers
there's
changes?
one change based on the discussion that we heard earlier from Brian. Adding to section 13 of the draft regarding the redevelopment agreement. So shall be used for development of HHA's replacement housing project where at least 50% of units are affordable for single families at or below 60% of median family income, and the remainder are affordable to persons or families at or below 90% for multifamily units or up to 120% for single family units. Okay. So that would be the only change, and then the resolution is, we're still working on getting it up. So the resolution would recite that HHA is a public housing authority and HCDPA is a public body created in Article 15 and 15A of the General Municipal Law, and HHA manages Bliss Towers, and HCDPA owns certain parcels of property that were acquired, actually most of which were acquired, not all of which were acquired originally through an urban renewal plan. HHA has determined that Bliss Towers needs to be replaced with affordable housing elsewhere in the city, desires to enter an option agreement with HCDPA to preserve the property as a potential future location of replacement housing. And pursuant to General Municipal Law, HCDPA is authorized to convey real property to a municipal corporation or housing authority for the effectuation of any purposes of its urban renewal plan. And we have a draft option to purchase real estate for review, and the members have determined that it's in the best interest of the HCDPA to enter into the option agreement. So this resolution would approve the option agreement, would authorize the board chair or the vice chair to execute the option agreement, and conveyance of the property to be subject to approval of the common council to the extent required by section 556 of the General Municipal Law and the applicable renewal plans, and that's the resolution in a nutshell.
And we'll have a roll call vote. And we're going to you abstain, right?
Well, you still have to call your name.
Okay, so Chair Smith.
I will abstain.
All right, Vice Chair Johnson.
Aye.
Treasurer Joyner. Secretary Wallace.
With the caveat, I just want to respond to a couple of comments that were made. I agree and I acknowledge, especially due to two of the men whose photos hang on that wall up there, that there was a massive injustice done when urban renewal came to Hudson. So there absolutely is the need to address this. I do want to make it clear and for the record, though, that I believe under Mr. Dodson's new leadership that the HHA itself does have the ability to shed its own reputation of being a very poorly mismanaged entity in terms of how public management of what we need to be able to do in poor housing goes. So with that, my vote is aye, and I look forward to a much better run partnership between the two organizations in the city.
We appreciate that, Ryan.
And lastly, Member Moranti.
Aye.
Okay. All right. Duly adopted.
Yay.
All right, there's more to do today. Imagine some of us will be leaving the meeting, but the next order of business on the agenda is APLN and Housing Trust Fund updates. So I will pass the floor to Housing Justice Director Michelle Touleau.
Hey guys, so I had a presentation I thought was fun.
Do you want to email it to me? I can throw it up on the. Too late.
Yeah, I'll be quick. So the I'll give you some updates on what we're up to, and then we'll discuss budgets for the year. So first, Hudson Roots, they have dispersed most of the funds. So they've done it in 3 tranches and we've helped 30 people in the first round with about $10,000, 11 people in the next round, and then 6 people. It's gone slower, the disbursement's gone slower than we thought, but that's a good thing. It's because Joe and your team has been helping households to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
This time it stays.
All I can see.
Oh, it's wrapped in. The disbursement is, the original, agreement with Hudson Promise Neighborhoods was set to expire in September. They haven't dispersed all the money yet because they've done such a good job of helping families access other funds through other organizations, and also going to court and working with landlords. And so this is a positive thing. We're helping more households with using less money. So they asked us to extend their MOU through the end of November. We think that would definitely be plenty of time to disperse the money. And we've been really happy with how they've been working with us. So can I ask, is that something we can, how does that work?
I don't know.
We probably need a resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in text.
When does it expire?
It expired September.
Yeah.
September.
Oh, and it's September, so, I guess you could move to extend the existing agreement to November 30th with, no increase in the amount of funds, right? Just an extension of the
Yeah.
period for expenditure.
You can do that verbally.
Did they say how long they need it?
Joni said she thinks a month. I said we can do that till the end of November because that's when all my reporting
Do
is.
you just, out of abundance of caution, do you want to go to the end of the year, just to get like grace period time,
Is that-
holidays and everything else?
We're trying to wrap up all of our AD1 stuff by after Thanksgiving because I have to submit everything enterprise to do that.
No, I think you're right though, because then you don't want expenditures out there.
Yeah.
We can't grab up.
So you've been here before the November.
I think, like December 31st, we have to cut ties with enterprise.
Right,
So I'm trying to get everything due in November.
Yeah.
And this way I can do all, make sure everything's in good order. When I get it done in December.
I'll make the motion to extend to November 30th.
I'll second that.
yeah.
It's only $5,000 left. So,
I thought it was nine,
yeah, so they'll be good.
right? Yep, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Other activities, so our engagement has been going great. We have over 270 responses, which is really exciting. We've been working really hard on our housing rehab grants with DBG. We're gonna get that started soon. We're in the process of selecting firms to do the actual delivery work right now. And we're actually applying for another grant from the state to extend that money to more seniors, to help our funds go a little bit farther. Tonight at the common council meeting, we'll be announcing our housing development proposal and I'll also be sharing that online, and I can send it to you all so you can look at it for new creation, new housing. The consultants BFJ moving along with all their work. So we saw our invoice. They're giving me their first deliverables on Friday for inclusionary zoning. So excited about that. So those are the key things we've been working on. The last piece is the housing trust fund. So the advisory committee has been meeting monthly, and the big thing we were working on is putting together the budget for this last half of the year and for 2023. The goal being able to, we vote on that, then we can start picking some programs to disperse the funds. So I sent that to you via email. So you should have that last week.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't know what to figure out about how to live on. So there's funds, there's the total budget line.
Do you want me to explain it?
Sure.
Is there something that we haven't read that you can? I think the board should have a budgetary document in red.
They received
We got it.
yeah.
Is that this?
January 42.
So that was in the packet.
Yeah,
Okay, great.
So so there's, Michelle created 2 budgets for us, one that matches with the budget we need to submit to the ABO and Parrots, and one that is more in the vernacular, what we would actually like to understand the doing. Which one do you want to look at?
Paris recording.
Paris first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the way, you know, it was repaired, you have to forecast out pretty far, so those future numbers are gonna, there's going to change. They're just, you know, kind of rough estimate. The 2023 number is the one that's more important. We have about $600,000 in housing trust fund, that seed fund, the idea being that we will use that to fund the housing trust activities at a decreasing rate over the next couple of years as a new funds of revenue from public or philanthropic donation will be increasing. And so that's why we have an increase in municipal grants and subsidies. So I should have gotten longer. The other total revenue, it's really big in 2022 because that's the first dump of the seed funds from enterprise. And that state grant is from enterprise, and we have these municipal grants coming in at a small increasing amount, and the other non-operating revenues is to be determined source of funds. So that's the revenues. And then expenses, we looked at based off of what we've done in the past with ADLN and looked at models from other housing trust funds of similar sizes. So professional services, things like legal fees, but also consultants, supplies, materials, which can include things for outreach events or software, and then grants and donations. That is really what's funding our programs. So salaries, as well as any other, you know, housing programs that we discussed with the housing trust fund can do. And so we see that increasing over the next couple of years. Any questions about that one?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So this is breaking out those same numbers into just more colloquial uses. So we only have to do the 2022 for the last 2 quarters, because the first half of the year was covered by ADM, and then 2023. So overhead operating is what we agreed on as like what we are going to pay the HCDPA. And then our salary, fringe, our program, and business agency.
No questions?
No.
Okay.
And this budget has been rolled into the budget that was drafted for us to talk about, like our overall agency-wide.
Yep.
Submission.
So, and I just want to note that, in terms of, there's a lot of,
Yeah.
so the budget is the budget, but it's not an operating document. So what will need to happen is we have an agreement with the city to fund the position, right, that you see in this budget. So the city is the employer of Michelle, and so we will need to update that agreement, you know, as an operating document going forward to incorporate these amendments that you're making to the budget, right? And so both you and the city will need to approve that updated agreement. So I just want to put a pin in that for something that needs to be done.
2 resolutions because it's the budget, and then it's also going to be allowing the budget to support.
Well, the budget is the budget, and then we can, but the budget isn't self-implementing, right? So then you'll need to have an implementing document that we can do perhaps for the next meeting or something, wherever you direct to implement that subsequent agreement, okay?
Any questions?
I was under the impression when this position was originally created that it was not supposed to be a city employee. And that it was, that was part of the reason of the creation of the committee. Is that it's that the committee is actually the body that.
Yeah, the
It does
committee,
that.
is the body that determines the salary and everything, but in partnership with the city. So we don't, as the BEA, we don't determine any of the budget or salary. That's determined by the board here.
But so can the city then, the mayor, the common council hire and fire this position if a future common council or mayor wants to do away with the position?
Again, I don't know, that's their attorney.
Yeah, because I mean, as an employee, you know, I mean, the employment position is currently with the city of Hudson.
It just gets cut out of the budget.
Right, right, and then the funding is from this is how it works. Okay.
That's why I'm saying it's two, we have two
Right,
separate
two
ones.
separate actions, right.
I feel like that's different than how it was supposed to be created.
I think the initial vision for the housing trust fund was for it to be its own entity.
Yeah, it's actually.
But we really wasn't. Okay. Any other questions for Michelle?
Great job.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is prepared a lot better. Housing trust fund advisory committee. We've got shown on this year. So
Nice.
speaking on behalf of a lot of.
Thank you.
So that leads us into our own ABO budget approval process, and the agenda is a little funny. We have a section to talk about the budget, and then we also in new business have a budget committee meeting where we could take action on the budget if we needed to. Ryan's eyes just got very large.
I just, try to open the agenda again. I think I just downloaded the third time, all 13 documents.
In a zip file.
So Sarah, do you want to ask for a motion to hold the meeting in advance for a brief budget committee meeting, so you can have a budget committee meeting to review your budget and then recommend that out to the board, go back into open, not open session, but go back into full session.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sounds good. So do we need to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to suspend the regular meeting to go so we can have a budget committee meeting.
Great. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Y'all, somebody's got to remind me who's on our budget committee or I'll.
Really want to have fun, come to an IDA meeting where you've got to do that 6 different times.
So our budget committee. Finance committee? Yeah, it's still open. So it's Teresa, Ryan,
Yep.
and Ravonda. who
Thanks for
are-
something new to this one. Bless you.
So let me broadcast what,
Who's the chair of the budget committee, or do we have one?
I don't think we decided on.
Would you like to elect the chair, and the chair can call this meeting to order, please?
Already.
Okay. I will. Thank you everyone for being here for our budget committee meeting. It is Tuesday, September 20th, 2022 at 5 p.m. and I will call this meeting into order. I'll have to pull up mine.
it's also gonna be here too.
Okay.
Great. So similarly, Michelle, the budget that we saw for Michelle was just, that was applied to the ABO, obviously only represented the relevant line items. The, yes, it's
Yes.
here.
Tell me just a minute.
It's called HCDPA 2023 draft budget or budget draft for ABO, and it's an Excel file.
It looks like this.
It was like the last attachment, I believe.
Right.
Harris.
I can't see that order.
Yeah.
Can you see it, or do you want to bother?
I don't have it.
Just.
So we don't have any charges for services or rentals and finance, other operating revenues. The 25,000 here represents an option payment.
Yeah.
And then this would also be the line where we would represent any income from property dispositions, but I didn't know how to represent that yet. I don't know, I
Do
figured.
you want to just estimate it at what fair market value for the one property that we're retaining is,
Oh, okay.
right? Or based on at least the 2018 assessment that we had, because that'll always give us the idea of where it is then. Ostensibly, it's gone up. We hope a little bit more, but right, because that was the purpose of like that we've got this rainy day scenario.
Okay. So I can add that into 2024, 2023, but
Yeah,
I'm not sure if we need to capture the potential, the disposition of HHA.
Well, that's an option, so.
Well, the option is captured, but
No, I know, but it's only an option, so I'm not sure you want to budget for that.
no, yeah. it's-
Okay. Okay, great. That was my instinct. I see, actually, I need to change this federal subsidies and grants, to
Yeah.
actually state subsidies and
Yeah.
grants. Any other questions here about what we proposed? The municipal subsidies line, that's the city investment in the housing trust fund that tracks with what Michelle proposed. So does the other non-operating revenues.
Yeah, that's my only question is, I think you might have to make that its own other line item, because I realize that we're operating as a pass through for the.
HDF.
Yeah, for the non-op, CapEx elements, but it's reflecting as negative. Like the 176, right? So it's like you almost want to back it out because it's almost like a negated line item, the 217. Because it's money in and money out, otherwise it should be reflected into the. It's not in the revenues column, right? Because it's money that we would get in and would be taken and passed through.
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, so the 217 that Michelle has budgeted, right?
Yes.
That is money that's coming through us and being approved to go into the
Here,
housing
yes.
trust grant. Right now, it's only showing up as an expenditure on our behalf, and it's not showing up as in the revenue column as well, because
It
it's a
is.
net zero cost.
Oh, I see.
It's a pass through, so we would need to have it in our, we're making this, we're also spending it budget, so you've got to document it in both.
Well, we do, in that the source of that money is from these, mostly the 659 revenue from the enterprise, and then additional, the only non-operating revenues. The only other revenue that we have is the proceeds from the issuance of debt, that's where we get $152 a month from ballot.
All right, so I'm looking into 2023 specifically.
Ah, I see.
Right, so that's what I'm saying, right? So it's, if there is the 659. Do you want to, instead of saying, because the 659 like we have, but I think it might have to be in its own separate budgeted line item, since it is pass through funding.
I'm not sure how we would even do that in Paris. It's not a modifiable format.
So that means that you would have to put it into, it should show as a non-operating revenue line item, and then it shows a non-operating expenditure as well. You've got to have it plus and minus. You can't pull itself out.
Okay.
Right, which is what Michelle already earmarked for HTF, because we have to show with the ABO that we're in receipt of the funds for this purpose, and then it goes out for the funds. Like they literally want that paper trail of in and out.
Right.
Even if you got the money in 2022 and you're spending it in 2022.
Well, and over several years.
Right, but the way that it's represented though, in what we're looking at, is that it's not even counting as a baseline operating account item. So is there, I don't know, in the Paris system, if there's like an operating balance account in terms of like revenue or proceeds or profits that are carried over from the previous year, because that you'd have to start from that base rather than just all zeros and pluses and minuses, if that makes sense, right?
Is that a different report though? I mean, this is just revenues, right?
Right, but it's gonna show we will end up getting dinged by ABO about being in the negative again. Unless there's some sort of cursory rider that we send along explaining exactly why it's showing, reflecting that we're in the negative, when in reality, if you put the negative 146 up against the 217 that's in and out, we might end up actually showing that positive.
Well, the only thing you can do is add a cumulative line, right?
Say it again.
You just would have to add a cumulative line, right?
Right, yeah.
But you can't.
I don't know if that's
to
in
Paris.
No, yeah, Paris is.
No, I know, but in terms of, that's what you're looking for, the cumulative line, but they don't do it that way, right? So you want to, right?
When do we need to submit by? October 15th? When's our next meeting?
Well, I mean, we need to submit by 60 days before the end of the year, so we have time, but,
Because I would call the ABO really quick, because this is where they keep like sending us that note, like this agency is going, this agency is going to be bankrupt. So like, what paperwork do we need to have in place, since their systems don't allow the recording of the finances? for them to understand exactly why the numbers will look the way that they do. And both of those need to be submitted together so that we stay viable in the ADO's eyes. Sorry.
Oops, no, that was,
You wrench it.
that was not a, that was more a reaction, that reaction was thinking about how many consistent years in a row we've not been viable under the ADO's eye.
That's right, and that's how we stop it.
Yeah.
We call the ADO to ask about all this and we just refer us to the.
Their large handbook, but we could try, I mean, maybe, you know. Yeah.
Listen, I'm good.
Somebody, but,
The other place we could ask is, I mean, from the council perspective, we can online compass the thing. Nikon.
Oh, yeah, well.
Wade's always really good about just connecting with people, get around like
Right.
self-serve.
I was just possessed of your account. But yeah.
It looks good, other than that, just that one concern.
Right.
Yeah,
the other thing is, do we want, I mean, I'm not sure if we, just as the way, you know, Michelle's representing in the HGF budget, the, you know, very real possibility in future revenues from private philanthropic sources and also city revenues that we haven't been confirmed yet. Do we want, is it appropriate for us to, you know, represent that we will try to go after certain kinds of grants in the
Oh, yeah.
future? And that, so that is currently not represented. So the budget committee could decide like how we want to sort of.
there has to be another, like you see, you've got like other non-operating revenues, right?
Right.
And remember, it's forecasting, so like. Forecast our predictions and you do your best to try to meet them. If there's like another, like a non-operating revenues line two. That's able to be submitted, I mean, that might be where you want to try to forecast where we would be able to get grants for.
Well, I mean, I think it would actually, wouldn't it actually be in the grants line, the state subsidies or federal subsidies or grants
Oh, yeah,
line?
all right.
We could push forward.
So yeah, I mean, and keep them conservative, right? But just to
Right.
show that there's some traction there.
Right. Something to think about. So, I mean, do you have any, we could talk about this offline or the budget committee could. I'm not sure what number to throw in there. Do you want to suggest?
We've already got the money, we pulled up the money that.
Michelle's projections are held in the budget and they're more or less, they're actually completely separate from any other projections on our end, except in the professional services line
Right.
and the supplies and materials line.
That's, yeah.
Subconference.
Yeah, makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
That's- Sorry.
No.
So do we wanna, I mean, it looks good, do we wanna table to our next meeting, maybe priorities, get through that, and then we can throw in some baseline numbers based off the grants that we've identified for next year. And in the interim, we'll figure out how they want us to represent the monies in, monies out, so we can stop getting that nasty gram every year from that.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So, motion. Go ahead. So. Okay, there we go.
Sounds like, okay, so motion second.
Yeah.
Line,
Yeah.
So put it at the top of the agenda for the next meeting.
which is October 11th. Okay.
That, good, and I can move that, I had it.
We recommend the budget to the full board.
Yeah.
In October 11th meeting, but we haven't discussed today.
Correct.
I don't know what was announced there.
To be honest, I wasn't paying attention. Looking at the next one.
The motion to hold until the October 11th meeting so that we can update this, as discussed today.
But does the business board want to recommend to the full board these edits, so you don't have to come back to the budget meeting?
Yes,
That's what I would suggest.
Okay.
That you might want to do.
So,
there we go. It's been motion and moved. There we go.
Moving the ball. Okay, sounds like we're.
Yeah. And I'll motion to come out of budget committee and resume the regular meeting.
You know, second that.
And Teresa?
all in favor?
Hi.
I don't know. Okay, great. The final orders of business on our agenda are HHA updates and the budget committee meeting, which we just had. So I think that puts us towards finished, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, Today was a marvelous day.
We have that, we have public comment, so we can open the floor for public comment. Would any members of the public like to make a comment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Okay.